Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a frigid, cloudy county call. I think a lot of us are experiencing some much earlier cold weather than we expected. Joe and I were just chatting. It was 30 this morning in Central Florida. It's pretty crazy for this time of year, but I'm here for it. I'd rather 30 than like a heat index of like 110. So I'm okay with that, but enough
Yeah,
about the
I'm
weather.
very
Sorry,
happy
go
to
ahead.
see a bit of cold weather. Maybe not having to defrost the windows, but I'll take it once in a while. So,
Yeah. This is not the Weather Channel. This is Cloudy County, which is a virtual county that's dedicated towards land grant and extension um, tech stuff. I'm not talking very well today, but Joe and I are nerds. My name's Dewayne. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. Used to work with Joe at the University of Florida, supporting our land grant mission in our 67 counties in Florida. And we're very passionate about teaching people how to do cool things. And our goal is always to never be annoying and always be useful. And we want you to see some tools that are in your toolbox. And if you find a tool that you think that is going to help you in some way, that's our goal, is to show you stuff that you have. Most of the time, I would say, Joe, probably like 99% of the time, we talk about stuff that everybody should already own. And I'm pretty sure today's topic is in that realm. So sorry.
yeah, we like to start off, covering things that are new, um, things that have hopefully shown up in your tenant, your organization, or are soon to, maybe between now and the next time we meet. Just to give you an idea of what to look for, things that are going to help you pay attention to those changes because it's fast and furious often with the Microsoft suite of services. There's so many to choose from. They're always changing. So we try to pick things that are there. They might be small little tweaks that maybe we've been waiting to have some type of small service improvement to some brand new feature that integrates throughout their services. So yeah, today we're going to talk about deep dive into something around the ability to have better communications internally around sending email and newsletters. So we have covered this briefly in the past, but it was preview. So if you may look familiar to some of you, um, I don't think many of you had a chance to work with it then because it was in preview. It wasn't something that was automatically turned on. I had to request it. Um, but now it's enabled, and you can start hopefully be able to start taking advantage of this tool. So we usually get started with some what's new. I'm going to get a share going, and I can get that started for us. All right. Like I said, some of these things sometimes are kind of small, but just helpful little improvements to be looking out for. I know we use Word Online, Excel Online, PowerPoint Online, often maybe inside of Teams. Not opening up your Excel file or your Word document in the full desktop app. And sometimes working with those tools in the web can be troublesome. And Microsoft continues to try to make those easier to work with. One thing that they've done recently is ability to more easily work with tables. And we're looking at this in Microsoft Word Online. And I've got I don't know, opened up some template out of all the Office templates available and picked one that's got a table built into it. And as I hover over this table, we've got some new little controls that are easier to digest and take advantage of this. So one of them is right in between each of the columns. Got a little plus sign. That's real easy now to insert a new table column. Maybe we call this, I don't know, department. Very easy to put one of those in. And also, we've got some kind of universal dragging icon there. We've got this kind of block of four squares that's sort of becoming a universal drag icon. So if I hover over that little hand icon, and I can hold, click, drag. I can move that around now very easily, drag and drop that. So little tweaks, but sometimes if you're quickly working maybe on a small screen inside of a Teams channel, tab or something like that, you have that open, a little bit easier to work with quicker. Next one we're going to look at is switching over to another Office M365 app is Microsoft Excel. A little bit easier to see. And this is a feature that's starting to roll out that I've find is going to be very helpful in manipulating your data and massaging it to look a little bit better. So one of the first things you want to work with here, and this early on was helpful with Microsoft Copilot. If you were uploading an Excel file into Copilot, it was helpful to define a table for your data. So if your data, in this case, we've got this area, we can see that I kind of want to have where my columns of data are at. I want to insert a table for this. I don't think that's a requirement anymore, Dewayne, right? For Copilot, it kind of has a better ability to work across your data. We don't have to do this, but this helps in this situation. So I'm going to define one anyways.
Yep. No table requirement anymore.
You'll still find this helpful, I think, in a number of ways. Maybe you've not seen this, or maybe you call this something else. But in this situation, what we're going to do is going to be helpful. So I'm going to go to the Insert menu, and I've just kind of put myself inside of this data area. I'm going to insert a table, and that's again Insert menu, table. My table has headers. We can see up here, and it thinks that my data range is like A1 to G11. That looks right. So I'm just going to hit OK. I've got this nice, different column, different rows, different colors, things like that. And that's a template. You can change those colors and things like that if you want to. And this makes it really easy to come in here and filter. That's what you get. Some nice features when you insert a table. But what we're going to do is kind of show some things that's coming. Let's say you want the initials for this person, and I could come in here and just start typing their initials and go through this whole list. But now, eventually, we've got this new feature, which is formula by example that's going to pop up. What you see kind of in the gray is a feature that's been available for quite a while. It's called flash fill. And I could flash fill this, and it would kind of picks up that pattern that you're seeing there and automatically fills those cells with those characters. What formula by example is doing right now is going to, instead of having just static text for those initials, it's going to instead create a formula for it. And I can apply that formula. So now I've got a formula. So in this case, people's names maybe don't change too often, but since it's a formula, it's going to automatically update. Where if I had flash filled and had static columns of data, I would have to remember to go back and update that information. So I can continue this here. Let's do an example. This is not a nicely formatted phone number, so let's do it a little differently. You usually just have to give these a few examples, go through a couple of these, and it's going to pick up what you're working towards and start putting those in for you automatically. There, we've got it. Show formula. Usually got to hit about that third one. That formula, I don't think I'd want to kind of have typed that whole thing out, figure that out. I can quickly enter a few of those examples, hit apply. Now I've got this automatically updated. And again, since it's automatic, I can come in here and update that phone number, and we've got that. There's also something they're calling forward filling. So if, let's say I've got, is there parsec? We're talking Star Trek here. Maybe James Kirk works in parsecs 1 through 100. And Jean-Luc Picard, parsec 101 through 200. Let's see, 200 to 300. if this will pick up for us. There we go. Had to have a few more examples there. We've got a formula, hit apply. So now if I come down here, and let's say we're going to add some type of new, we'd add to do some new information in here. Who's another captain? We've got automatic parsec figured out for us. Waiting on a phone number value for us. All set, just like that. Anybody who knows Morgan Bateson, that was Kelsey Grammer, who played one of the ship's captains once. Nice, some little Star Trek lore. Never hurts to learn a little bit about that along the way of Cloudy County. So I'll drop some notes about this formula. If you work in Excel a lot, I think it'll save you a lot of time. There's some really amazing examples of working with different text and data types, how to eliminate quickly spaces that are, prefixed and postfixed, date transformations, things like that. So I'll drop that in for us in chat. Something Microsoft is always looking out for also is accessibility. They're improving the ability to handle tables and shapes now, and the ability to deal with merged cells and things like that. In Excel, let's do something where, try if I can do this. Let's set the colors there. Is it gonna work? I think because I've got a theme. Yeah, I got a theme that's overriding. Let's see what we get here. I'm going to hit review. Under review, we've got accessibility. So I'm Excel Online, accessibility. And we've got some information here. I don't have any merged cells that are difficult to deal with. I should probably update my sheet names and change those around. I've got some hard to read text contrast. Here's some dark background fonts, things like that, that are hard to read against the background of that cell. That gives those are some continued improvements Microsoft's working on. So you've got this accessibility toolbar. And again, you're going to find that under review, accessibility. You can pick that up. If you are on a Windows machine, a newer version of Windows, this is not exactly a Microsoft 365 thing, but it's cool enough that I like to show and remind people that this tool exists. And that's the Snipping Tool. And some little change to this that they've added. You can get to this tool, Windows key Shift plus S. S for snipping. Helpful reminder. But they've added a nice little tweak to this tool, which if you didn't know, you can do Snipping Tool, can do snipping areas, windows, full screen. You can take short little videos, great for recording maybe a short little instructional video, or maybe you've got a what I like to see is sometimes someone has a problem with their computer. Maybe they can record it quickly and send me a little snippet. And you can even delay your screen captures. So maybe you're trying to get to a menu of some sort. But I can do I'm just going to new capture here. I'm going to capture this bird. And if I right click on it now, we've got this visual search in Bing that is going to launch you straight into Bing. It figures out that it looks like a cedar waxwing. Excellent. So just a little tricks to some of these tools that I think, I don't know, maybe someday we'll have a Cloudy County just on some of these. I'm seeing some things in the chat about clipboard history tools, using this snipping tool is pinned to my taskbar, taking advantage of those. It's pretty quick and easy. There's little tips and tricks hidden in there.
I recall it's been a little while since I've got to go, unfortunately, but at Netsy, one of the most popular sessions is always like the gadgets and gizmos thing where people have like little tools that do something cool. I think it's been a while since we've done something like that. That might be interesting.
Yeah, it would be fun. That's definitely one of them. It's because it's always there. You don't have to search for it and get some piece of software approved through security or something like that. It's right there. Let's see. Let's keep going. We've got some tools changes that are rolling out. Between now and hopefully the next time we meet, these are some things that you should start seeing. So there's going to be different scheduling view inside of Outlook and in Teams, and the way that you're creating a new event is going to look. So I think the first way to maybe let's go back is look at what does an event look like now. If we go onto our calendar Teams, we're in the new calendar in Teams. We've got response options up here. We've got our, how soon do we want to get an alert before the meeting? We've got Teams meeting option to turn it into a Teams meeting, some things like that. All these are going to be changing around on us. And I can get a little bit bigger view here. So again, things change often. Cheese is moved. Just start looking, expecting this to kind of switch around on you a bit. But through that, they're bringing some other advanced capabilities, making it easier. Scheduler is going to be easier to access. It's going to be right inside of the event window here along the side. This example, I think they probably, for security, whoever they were testing this with, pulled someone out of the who they were sending this event to. But in the calendar view, you can see that it states like there's one person not available at 8 p.m. to 8:30. I think as you start adding individuals on to the to line, we're going to start pulling that information more easily, able to see when they're available on that little calendar view. And I'm sure if you click into the scheduler, you'll get a larger view of everyone that you can kind of start looking for. Take advantage of that. Part of that also that they're going to be doing and improving with that is bring polling inside of that calendar and that compose. So if you're looking for a good time to meet with people, this is that tool. So internal, external people, now that's going to be built right in. And you can see here it says create a poll to find the best meeting time. So that capability, there's a new little poll icon. And that's going to start that polling, pick a few dates and times across your calendar, and everybody you send that to are going to get an option to choose when to do that. So looks like we're starting to see that new interface rolling out. Thanks, Dewayne. Yeah, so hopefully people will be able to start taking advantage of it. Having that polling built in makes it a little easier. People ask for, how do I do that now? And they're going out to different third-party services. And that is currently built in to Outlook. You have that ability now. This is just going to make it easier to access and see that. Super. So for it's hard not to have some Copilot AI every month. ChatGPT is heading towards being the default model. Right now, if you try to do have a little chat, you might have GPT hidden somewhere. You might see a little button that says try GPT, or under this little menu option, you might find try GPT-5. So that's going to become the default. Not have to kind of think about which one to use. I think that's going to be really helpful. I'm turning that on whenever I can, unless it's some quick little query I'm asking Copilot. But I like to take advantage of the models that are kind of living behind GPT-5. And that will be nice to see it by default. So when you're working with Copilot, this is Copilot chat. We all have access to Copilot chat. We now have version history for Copilot pages, which are built on Microsoft Loop. So Copilot pages are a nice way to save the information that Copilot chat gives back to you. You can put it into a Copilot page. You can easily work with that content at that point. It becomes editable. So if we take a look at what that looks like, and something that changed, and I haven't found where this has popped up, but this is some cheese that moved on me. I can't find where that's at, but I'm looking for Copilot pages. I don't see pages anymore. I see library. And this is where I can find my pages now. So, Dewayne, have you seen that across some of your tenants? So, yeah. So,
yep. Library is brand new.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got library. I like it. It's kind of separating some pages. So these are previous chats I've had. I'm sorry, that I've captured into a Copilot page. I can go look at one of these. So here's a prompt response that I saved so I could work with it later. And what you're going to start seeing now are some previous version icons in the upper right. Got a back. I can go back to a previous version. This is going back to November 4th. I can look through this. I could restore this version if I wanted to have it be the first. So if you're familiar with this, working with a file in your OneDrive or Teams or SharePoint, you have version control over there. Easily go back. Now we have that for pages. Back and forth. And again, here's I can easily open this up in Word, create a nice Word document from it. So take advantage of those conversations that, you get good information, put them into a page, and you can edit, manipulate, bring them into Word very easily. And now we have version control.
I got a little something for you, Joe.
Yeah.
Surprise. That library module that you clicked on. So Copilot pages are great. I use them a lot because sometimes I'm creating stuff, and the stuff that you create, like if it's a letter or a process, procedure, whatever it might be, you always are going to take it out of Copilot and put it somewhere else. The Copilot page lets me work on like tweaking it, like right there while I'm still maybe asking Copilot for like follow-ups and things like that. So that's one of the ways that I use pages a lot. Is ultimately it will turn into a document, but while it's in the process of being created, it's nice to have that page so I can make some changes. But you also see images there. The library will serve as a way for you to get back to images that you have generated before. And some really good news is that just now, like starting this week for education customers, the create module that's available in the Copilot app is being updated so that it looks the same as it does for our commercial customers, which means you will have a very designer-esque experience in that create module. Joe, I don't know if yours is updated yet. I'm kind of curious if it is. But this is going to be out for licensed users for like the premium version of Copilot, as well as standard users. So yeah, this is the old experience.
Okay.
I'll throw in a screenshot of what it looks like as a new experience so that y'all can tell what I'm talking about. So right now this is old and boring. New hotness is coming pretty soon. So I'll put a screenshot in the chat.
We can create a document. There's presentations, a lot of great templates in here, but what's coming is the ability more easily create images and infographics.
Like editing, editing images and those kinds of things. I'm trying to find one of my, I have like 100 accounts and I don't remember which one's which. So give me a moment and I will try to find one here. I'll throw a screenshot. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So I'll throw this in the chat.
Okay.
You can see that this user doesn't have a Copilot license, but can do the create an image, do all the like styling of it, the shape of it, you know, those kinds of things. The style is really nice. I'll take a screenshot of that as well because it has a lot of like um I don't know, add-ons, I guess you could call it, for like, hey, I want to make an image and I want it to look like very cinematic. So it adds like a lot of drama and stuff to the image. Not like the bad drama, but like good drama. Uh, I'll show you a picture. Like this is probably the most dramatic cat you've ever seen. I can put, thanks to the library app, I can go back in time and I can find that picture when I made it. But I made a picture of a cat.
And it
Here we
looks like,
go.
is it this library feature now with images, the full fidelity image when it was originally generated is
Mm-hmm.
available
Yeah,
instead of,
which
because
was
it,
hard. Yeah.
yeah,
That
it
was
used to be
annoying
like
if you,
a day or two later, it
yeah,
was this thumbnail. You had to kind of grab it right away. So
yeah. Like, see, isn't that very cinematic when you think
yeah,
like there's a
oh yeah,
feel to it? It's
it's a
like, oh
golden
man,
hour on a
look at that. That's a
golden corn.
hardworking cat right
Oh
there.
yeah, oh yeah.
I don't remember what I was doing, but that's what happened. But yeah,
Yeah.
getting the full resolution image back was really challenging because you'd go back in the chat history and click on it. And you got like this little postage stamp sized thing, and you're like, bleh.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, I forgot there was another school on that one. Okay.
Cool.
Not a land grant, sorry. But yeah, getting the full size image back is really nice. So I imagine you all, like, we've talked about image creation before. I know I'm derailing this a little bit, but you could end up with like a little library of photos that you've created, and just a reminder to everybody, you own those photos. You can use them, you own the rights to them, they're yours. You're not going to get in trouble for using them in your publications and materials. They belong to you because it didn't exist until you told Copilot to make it. So that cat picture is mine.
Great, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to that. Have that same experience
Yeah.
across these tools. Let's see. Let's get to this is coming to Edge. I'm not going to try it. I've tried to demo this inside of a virtual machine, but you're going to be able to do some real-time video translation, say English to Spanish, of YouTube videos, and you can try that out in Microsoft Edge. Might be interesting. I know pushing out content, different languages can take some effort and time. And that might, at least before you start being able to put content in different languages, give you an option for your clients to view those and have them translated. Just a few different languages currently that are out there available to get started, but something to be interesting to see. And just going to briefly mention this because you have this and you're going to see this. But these are some amazing tools coming that are going to be continue to be built upon and built out. I'm going to drop a couple links in here real quick to you all around using Copilot for teaching and learning. You're going to find in the Copilot app, you've got a teach section now. If you've come across that or not, let us know. That should be visible to everyone. What you can do in here is just to get started, you can create some lesson plans around maybe existing documents you have. I've played with this a little bit for some, like I had some 4-H documents around public speaking for high schoolers, being able to bring that in, create a lesson plan around it. What's really unique about this when you start diving in, and really important, is the tools built upon basically the like Florida's code around sixth grade math, or Wisconsin's. There's a ton of basically policies, requirements. What do you have to learn for math in these grades? And you can choose those as you build out these lesson plans and homework assignments and things like that. Study aids are kind of fun. There's some flashcards you can come in and generate. Let's see if I'm in the right. Let me see if I can get this to open up in the right place. Let's try teach. Let me see if I can grab a quick flashcard. So you can come in, create some flashcards, terms, definitions, what you're used to, flashcards. There's like 3 different kinds. You can run through an example of these. Click, flip, what they are. Did you get it right? Not right? You can share these out, give them to people to practice and test with. Just be something interesting to see. Yeah, education standards are definitely in the teach, where you build a lesson plan. You've got this list of standards across, Alabama course of studies, Arizona's college career ready standards, Florida standards, education training. There's tons of these standards you can pick from and get started with, and choose those as you develop something. I know probably very interesting help around perhaps 4-H work, something like that. So yeah, if we pick Alabama, you can pick grades, 10th grade, pick a subject, mathematics, algebra, and now you can start really diving into those standards. So again, you'll find that under this path teach. And there is another one sort of on the learning side where you can find these versus the creation side. So a couple paths there to take advantage of and try those out. So we're going to now let's dive into the key process that we're going to look at today, newsletters in Outlook. Before we get started, I want you to kind of level set, think about what this tool is for and how maybe you're doing things now. This is a way to communicate an email, a subscriber-based newsletter for internal communications at your institution. You might have, what do you have? You might have listservs. Let's see, I've got Purdue pulled up. You might have traditional listservs out here. Probably have some stuff on extension. Here's some extension, staff update. Extension staff updates, probably internal. This is a tool that could probably take over that role. Listservs like this, or traditional listserv, usually for external, probably. This Outlook and newsletters and Outlook, not currently for that kind of purpose. You might even have a distribution group in Exchange that you're sending internally. You could take advantage of this tool for something like that instead. So, but let's get started and kind of dive into what this looks like. So I'm going to actually, there's one other thing that you might be doing to take a look at, and maybe you've taken advantage of this, and I would say it sort of builds on this, could also be maybe complement this capability, but for a while now, we've had the ability to send great looking emails through SharePoint. So I'm in a SharePoint site. This is built a SharePoint site from a team. I could come in and create a new news post. I've got some examples. Maybe I'm sending out monthly news updates around some subject that's important to me. I can get started with a template. I can use that template, and I'm going to have a document that I can edit in SharePoint and use some basic SharePoint tools to build this out, update, edit, change these images around. Just gives me an idea what this might look like. I can post this and send it. I could send as an email. Again, it's meant to be internal. So here's a preview of what that's going to look like. I think nice looking email, real easy to start generating and creating. In this case, I'm going to need to have all the people I want to email it to, distribution list, something like that, and maintain that automatically in some way, etc. That's what newsletters brings, is there's a subscription that makes it easier for the people to join and see the information you have to share with them. So this, again, this works great. Sends nice, can send a nice email. Here's an example. So that's what we're going to find very similar in this newsletters. So to get started, you open up Outlook, and along your left rail, you're going to find a new icon over there called newsletters. And the first concept to get around is you have newsletters and you have editions. So you're going to create a newsletter, and then you're going to, maybe have a monthly edition, a weekly edition to that. When you come in, if you have enough of them and they're populated in here and people start using these, ones that are active, new, they're going to show up featured editions. You're going to be able to see ones that you've subscribed to. So this is something I've subscribed to. I can see it. I can also edit it. It's going to show me a little differently in there. And there's some examples in here. So the first thing you'd get started with is to create one. So you've got some information you want to start sharing. This one that was extension staff, perhaps at Purdue, you could create something like that. And this is where you're going to send out your monthly updates. But we're going to create a new newsletter and just walk through this process. So what we can start with, we've got a cover here. We've got a little logo, titles, and things like that. Let's go build something out here. So I'm going to add an image. I can pick from some examples. I can also search. So this would be pulling from our stock art we're used to seeing across Microsoft services. Also upload something. So let's upload. Let's pick one of these. I have some tools in here. If it's it's not right size, you have to figure that out. You can do a little resizing, zoom in, stuff like that. We got to give this a title, of course. So we can give it a description. Now, description is going to be visible if someone wants to look at this and decide if they want to subscribe. And how do you decide if someone has the ability to subscribe? We have some options here around your newsletter around access and privacy. So I have my organization, unlisted, only users with a link, and private. Private, like unlisted and private. Unlisted is really open to anyone if you have a link to it and can find it with that link. And private is you need to be an owner or an author. So those are two roles you have, owners and authors of your newsletters and your editions. So I can bring in other owners. You really need to have two. I think you're kind of required to have two owners. Get that set up. And then you can decide, do you want people to subscribe to your newsletter? They can, looks like great information. You make it available to your entire organization. People can subscribe. And oh yeah, we can add a little logo here. Let's grab something like this. Let's zoom in a little bit on Quark. Now we've got a little logo, and I'm going to hit save. So now we've got the basics of our newsletter started. And from this point, we can start creating editions. And these editions are what are going to actually go out there. So I've seen this little quirk where it pulls up like an image from initially. That's the second time I've seen that. And in one of the other newsletters that I'm an owner of. If you see that, just give it a second briefly, and that header will hopefully pop up with the one you chose. We can jump back right in here and edit this, update this information very easily. We can switch between, or if it's locked down to an organization or private. So if you want to build private first, you can do that. And then open it up to your organization if you wanted to. So you can switch those back and forth. That's not a problem. Eventually you'll have subscribers. You'll get analytics. You'll get some information around it getting read, which is really nice to know that your information is getting out there. How many times you need to send it. I think marketing folks say like 7 times in 3 different ways. So this might be one of your ways. And you can get that out there. So other things we can do, delete it if you want to, share it, give somebody a link to it. But we're going to create a new edition. So this is the actual part of getting some email out for someone. And just like we saw with the SharePoint news post, we do have some basic templates to work with. I'm going to work with just a blank template, show you how to kind of build this across. So we need a title for ours. And the next option we need for this email that's going to go out is it a new edition of the newsletter, or am I going to generate a template? So maybe I want some consistent patterns of what this should look like. I can create a template and then open that template every month. I don't have to, change the content, update an image or so, but have that same pattern every time. In this case, I'm going to have an edition, and I've got a drop down here for where does this new newsletter edition belong. I own a few newsletters, so I want to make sure I pick the one that I want, which was the one that I did have open defaults, and hit save. And now we can get started on this. So it's going to default to your header. That's your header of your newsletter. You could edit and change that if you wanted to for each edition. We can add contributors. So there can be other authors per section. So that's what we can see here is by default, we have a section in which we can start adding content. And you can add multiple sections. Each section can have different authors. You can actually have multiple people working on this newsletter together. You would want to have different contributors, authors working on their own sections. You can have it open. Different people can have it open, but like basically last one wins inside of those contributor author sections. So you want to just make sure you're working in your part of a newsletter. But if you wanted to build a long newsletter with 4 or 5 people, they'll have their own section that works. So we can do things like, again, add a component here. And what these components look like, we've got some image headers, just images, kind of like a little image carousels, some style quotes, maybe people images before like our authors. Let's add, let's just pick one of these. Try that again. There we go. So we can put a title in here and some text. Let's pull an image in. Let's build one of these quickly. Again, I might need to move these around eventually. Probably learn the hang of it, of what size of images work best in these little fields. First part, I'm going to add another section. Let's say I'm going to give you, what one do we want? Let's try something like this. And a little bit more information about this trip we're going to have available. Let's pick something from stock images. What do we have out here? We got some planets. Looking nice. Let's add another section. Let's go with, try one at the bottom. And let's throw some itinerary in here. So we have some image. Let's grab something like this one. So we've got some sections in here. Now, the other thing we can do is this is getting, it could be getting a little long. We can start, I'm going to name, we've got these sections here. I can give these text for this. So this is itinerary section we've got. So I can build out basically a table of contents. I got itinerary. I would say this is a summary. And this is welcome. Now we've got an automatic table of contents that we can jump to for the user in the email, jump around. And we've got different people who can author these. So I could have, this could be the Dewayne section. I could bring in, let's see, bring in someone else. Edit this section. Different authors, the people who can edit these. I've got something that is looking good. I think I'm going to be okay with, and I can preview that. That's what that's going to look like when it goes out. If you've got people with their M365 profile pictures, those are going to show up nicely. Another thing you're going to notice is that in this email is that their kind of reactions are going to be available in them. And you're going to have the ability to have some feedback like that, even down to the section level. So let's do, we've got our preview. Oh, yeah, we can switch to dark mode. How's this going to look in dark mode? Make sure that looks good for people who chose that type of theme for their computer. Now we have this ready, set up to go, this edition. And we've got a lot of little options to work through here. First one I'd like to kind of look at is the thumbnail that you could choose. Now, this is the header of that edition. And maybe you want the thumbnail of every edition to look a little different. So maybe we could, maybe we change this one out. Maybe looks a little different. For a little flare in here. Try that again. Let's pick this one. And maybe we can zoom in a little. Let's do that one. So we got a thumbnail, a little different for this one. This is who's going to be sending it out. I could add authors here. If there's someone who is not an owner, I could add an author, or I could ask somebody else to send it out. So if I want to have Dewayne send this out, I could have him to send it out. My recipients perhaps would be like an internal distribution list, Exchange distribution list. I'm gonna, let's send this to Luke, just to have an example. It's going to CC to the authors automatically, and it's going to BCC to the subscribers. You can change all these around to fit to what you're trying to accomplish. If you're sending to a distribution list, and maybe there are people who have chosen to subscribe, if they're a subscriber and they're on the distribution list, they're not going to get like double hit with this. And the other key that's really important here is replies. You can actually add a custom reply. So maybe you want replies to go to a, like a shared mailbox or something like that people can look at, or another type of distribution list, or a black hole, no replies at, or something like that. You can make those changes around. In this edition, per edition, you have some choices here, whether or not they're accessible to everyone. You get those set up, you like how they're done, and you're prepared, you can send this out. You have some other options at the bottom of what is the bottom of the footer look like. Do you want other editions to newsletters down there? Do you want to allow comments, reactions? Hit send, and off it goes. Here's our first edition. Let's come in.
Now,
just like what we saw in that review preview, this looks pretty sweet. We've got our authors. I can react to individual sections here if I want to.
You can do all this without leaving Outlook.
Yeah,
like that's big, because when you ask somebody to click on something and then go read it, like, you have a really high chance of losing them because they're going to get distracted because they opened up a new window. This renders the entire newsletter, right? And I don't even have to open the email all the way. It's in the reading pane.
Yep, it's right here. So, and I just subscribed, and now, so if I was sent this through some other channels, I like it, I could subscribe to it and become a subscriber. And as the new editions go out, we'll see those. I've got these nice reactions if I want. Each individual little section here might get its own information. So if you compartmentalize kind of the information you're trying to send out, you might get some information back about how do people feel about that change, or how do people feel about that information. Some interesting ways to think about sending this out. Again, because it's kind of a little long, I can jump through with this table of contents quickly to those sections back and forth. Something you can take advantage of that way. I could walk us through, build another one, but I think time-wise, let's see if there's any other questions there. But that's a quick way to run through this. You don't have the same type of template content available in this tool at this stage. With SharePoint, I think you have a few other, I would say, components or web parts that are interesting. I've seen some people ask for, like call to action kind of buttons and some things like that. So hopefully, as we see newsletters grow, as just released, as it gets updated, it might just have some of those. Hopefully, will come over, take advantage of those. But you do have some other things that are cool. Again, reactions, inline comments, things like that you can take advantage of to help grow and build that, maybe a community, or get the information out that's important. And yeah, this is really meant to be internal. These technically, I've seen you can forward these out and they kind of look okay, but I wouldn't expect that to work perfectly everywhere all the time. So I really would keep these internal, and think of them as maybe a way to bring a nice look to your emails going out to people that you want to keep informed about stuff.
I know I'm kind of springing this on you, Joe.
Yeah.
But it's November, and you and I briefly chatted about how we had sent out the Cloudy County community call invite series for the year of 2025. So just kind of curious, I'll turn the recording off here in a second, but I'm going to ask in just a second, like, how y'all felt about that. Did you like how the meeting series worked and those kinds of things? Any feedback on how we maybe could do it different if you want us to change anything? It didn't seem really chatty throughout the year, but I know I dropped a couple things in there, here and there. And like I said in the beginning, our goal is never to be annoying, so we didn't want to spam you with a bunch of stuff, but at least having a mechanism to send something if I see something and I feel like, oh, wow, this is really important, everybody should know. Or if you have a question, like, y'all can chat in there as well. But just something I want to talk about real quick, because we're running out of 2025 really fast. But thanks, Joe, for showing newsletters. I think everybody should go click in Outlook and go look and see if there's any newsletters in your organization. That's kind of fun. I did it and I was like, oh, wow, there's a really useful one I found within like 5 minutes. I was like, I really actually want to know more about this topic, and I would like to continue to receive updates on it. So I subscribed to one internally that I found just randomly.
Are
So
you
I
going to
think
start
everybody should
your
check
own
it out.
disc golf newsletter?
Yeah, I should. How to Hit Trees with Plastic Circles by Dewayne Hyatt. Yeah. uh, awesome. Well, Joe and I will hang out on the call for a little while after if you have anything you want to ask us about, but I'll turn the recording off. And if you're watching online, like to our dozens of subscribers on YouTube, thanks.